Hey guys, I haven't been really keen to address the topic of the disaster again, but I'm still getting lots of questions about it, so I will address it as briefly as I can. First, most common question I'm getting is, I have tickets to come to Japan, flight tickets to come to Japan for a holiday. Should I still come? Shortest answer I can give to that is, if you're coming to Tokyo, or to the north or to the east of Tokyo, I would suggest probably not coming, because there is obviously in the disaster areas there's big problems going on, and in the other areas around Tokyo and the north and east of Tokyo there's problems with electricity flow and food supply and water supply and things like that, and it's probably not real appropriate to be coming there for a holiday while the disaster's still going on and people are still being affected by it. So I'd say no to that. If you're coming to the rest of Japan, so to the west or the south of Tokyo, I would say yes, I would say come, because those areas are not directly affected by what's been going on. So there's no power supply problems, or generally no food supply problems or water supply problems or anything else. So I'd say if you're coming to those other areas, I would say come, because obviously a lot of foreigners have left Japan because of the disaster. You know, I'm hearing reports on the internet about someone's asked me, I heard most foreigners have left Japan. Is that true? No, I don't think that's true at all. But obviously a lot of tourists, a lot of foreigners have left Japan, and a lot of people who were living here have left Japan as well. And the tourism industry in Japan obviously is suffering big time as a result of this, and that doesn't help Japan. So I would say, if you're coming to an area, you know, south or west of Tokyo for a holiday, you're coming to spend some money for a couple of weeks or a few weeks and then go home again, I would say come. And I think, you know, the Japanese people would say the same thing, because that helps Japan. You know, the rest of Japan that's not directly affected by the disaster, you know, all the tourists not coming, which I know that's been happening. A lot of people have cancelled their plans to come, and that doesn't help Japan at all. You know, because obviously they need money at the moment. So tourists coming and spending money in the part that's not affected by the disaster, and then going home again is useful for Japan. So yeah, I would say come. As far as, I've had some people say to me that they had plans to come here and work, that they had jobs lined up. If you have a job lined up in Japan, there's a company that's already going to employ you, all your visas are sorted and the job's sorted, and it's all happening, and it's definitely happening, and those people are definitely giving you a job and giving you somewhere to stay, I would say come, because they need you. Because there has been a lot of foreigners that were working here and living here that have left. So I would say my advice would be that if you definitely have a job lined up and you definitely have somewhere to stay lined up, I would say come and do the job, and that will help Japan if you do that. So that's a good thing to do as well. Now I know there's been a lot of other opinions, a million opinions on this from people around the world, about, you know, what's going on with Fukushima, the nuclear reactor, and all that sort of stuff, and what's going to happen next. I'm getting my information from Japanese TV, and it's pretty well constant. You know, every day there's updates on it. Every day there's interviews with professors from different universities. They've got the government guys are running around with Geiger counters all over the country, measuring everything. There's lots of private citizens and private non-government organisations running around with Geiger counters measuring everything. There's aeroplanes and boats belonging to other countries cruising past, measuring everything, and then you've got all the neighbours, China and Korea and Vietnam, and all the neighbours, even America I'm told, are running around with Geiger counters measuring everything in their own countries. So, you know, and all that information's getting reported on TV, but also on the internet. I mean, the private citizens with their Geiger counters, you know, there's a number of characters that, you know, that are measuring everything with their Geiger counters and posting it on the internet. So it's heavily covered. It's heavily covered, and you know, my feeling is it's more than adequately covered, and I don't feel that I'm at any risk. So you know, it's up to you guys. You guys have to make your own decisions on this stuff, and you have to decide who you listen to. So, you know, I make my decisions who to listen to and who to ignore. Most of the stuff on the internet, I totally ignore it. So if you guys choose to totally ignore me, I totally understand, because most of the information that I've seen on the internet, I choose to ignore it. On that too, guys, what it feels like to live here at the moment is it feels like you know, the house next door to us, because we're not actually in the disaster area, okay? So, you know, the Fukushima is 400 kilometers away and Sendai's further, so we're not in the disaster area. But what it feels like to us is that the house next door with the grandparents and the parents and the kids and the cousins and everybody has just been destroyed, and everybody in there's died. That's what it feels like to us. So I'm sure, you know, the whole thing is disturbing to people in other countries and everything else as well, but to us it feels like the people that next door have just all been wiped out. And basically all these people around the world talking about it and having their theories and treating it like it seems like so many people treat it almost like entertainment, is disturbing. And then sending us stuff, you know, hypothesizing and sending us stuff from the internet, you know, about the world's going to come to an end, Japan's going to, you know, the reactors are going to melt down and Japan's going to explode and we're all going to die and then everybody else is going to die and all the rest of that stuff. Look, you know, that's all fine, guys. If people want to indulge in that and if people want to believe all that and that's all fine. I'm not going to enter into any of that. But what it feels like to us is like everybody next door is all being killed and people keep sending us photos of it. You know, we don't need it because we're not forgetting. You know, we're surrounded by this every day. It's on the news. We cannot open our eyes in the morning without seeing something. You know, it's on the news, it's on the television. We walk out the door, we're seeing examples of it. You know, even in an area that's not affected by the power shortages, you know, they're cutting power. So you go in the convenience store or the supermarket and they'll have less lights on to sort of conserve power, and you know, there'll be less stuff on the shelves in the supermarket. And you know, and if you run into someone that you haven't seen since the disaster, of course they're going to say, "Isn't it terrible what's happening?" And you know, we can't. Unless we hide in a closet all day, we can't avoid seeing it. So we see all this. So really, the last thing we need is for people to be sending us links from the internet of some theory that some guy's got about us all dying tomorrow or something. I know some people think they're helping us with that sort of stuff, but it's really not helping. And I'm constantly getting this from people, you know, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you heard this? Have you seen this? You know, have you heard that there's yellow rain in Tokyo? Well, yeah, around this time of year there's often yellow rain in Tokyo. It's pollen and it's quite common, and if you're in Japan you could see that, you know, this time of year, same every year, there's 15 to 20% of the population's walking around with masks on because the pollen count's really high and all their hay fever's playing up as a result. So that's not fake, it happens every year. So guys, again, you know, I know there's a lot of stuff on the internet, and if people choose to believe all that stuff, that's fine, and I'm not going to get into any debates about it. I'm just going to say, if people want to believe all that stuff, it's fine, but I'm just saying that I don't believe it. I base my decisions on what I see, you know, the interviews I see with all these professors from the different universities and the information that I'm seeing every day in Japan. Rather than the stuff that's on the internet that someone's got from someone else that's someone else. And I mean, there's so much of it that I've seen that's just so far from true, that's exaggerated and dramatized, and because it makes for more exciting reading or viewing, doesn't it, when they make all that dramatic stuff. So I'm choosing not to participate. Also on that too, I've had some extremists on my videos. First of all, the ones who are totally insensitive, who are leaving comments on my videos like, Japan deserve it because of Pearl Harbor. Japan deserve this disaster because of Pearl Harbor. Japan deserve this disaster because they eat whales, and all sorts of insensitive stuff like that. I delete and block most of that stuff as much as I possibly can, because a lot of my subscribers are Japanese. They don't need to be subjected to that nonsense. So that's the insensitive people. The other problem we've had has been overly sensitive people who have been saying that it's inappropriate that I make light-hearted videos at the moment with the disaster happening. Well, guys, we've been living with this since it happened, so the last few weeks, every day, all day. And Japanese TV recently has started to show not their usual programming, some of it's still missing, but they have been showing comedy on a number of channels every day, during the day and every night. And I think there's a reason for that. I think it's because the people that are in Japan, everybody's traumatized by this. It's pretty traumatic, even if we're not actually in the disaster area. Like I say, we're reminded about this every day, and we've got this hanging over our heads every day. We need a little break from it now and again. I'm sure even the people, especially the people in the disaster area, need a break from it now and again. We can't be just looking at these images. I mean, every time we turn on the TV, the news keep finding new video footage of different things, people being killed in different ways, and horror stories. Just one, they keep finding people that keep telling new horror stories to the media, right? So they keep reporting these new horror stories. The guy walking and is holding his wife's hand and his baby's hand. The tsunami comes and kills them both, and he's left standing there on his own. And it's endless stories. The council worker who was making announcements on the PA system, and everybody else evacuated from the council building, but she kept making the announcements, and they actually play footage of her, the sound of her voice echoing across the town as she's making these announcements that the tsunami's coming, until the tsunami hit and she was killed. And just they're endless, these stories. We're subjected to these stories every day. So obviously for them to play some comedy stuff on the TV is very appropriate. It's what we need. It's what everybody needs in Japan at the moment, is a little break from it, now and again. To have a little break from the trauma and have a bit of a laugh at something and relax a little bit is the appropriate thing to do, which is why I've continued with my videos, and why, to be honest, guys, I feel to continually make videos about this topic would be capitalizing on it. And I think the internet and a lot of the mainstream media around the world, from the stuff that people keep sending me, I think they're basically, most of these people are just capitalizing on it. I mean, it's important to report what's happening, it's important to report the news, but I think some of this stuff is just, it's like passing around photos of a car accident where everybody's died. Is there any benefit to that? And I think a lot of this stuff is just like that. I think that, a lot of the people on the internet and the people in the mainstream media are just taking advantage of this situation, and I don't see the benefit of that. I'd prefer just to keep making my normal videos, positive videos. A large percentage of my subscribers are Japanese people, so they need a distraction as well. So life goes on, and we continue on with our lives and continue to try and do things. It doesn't mean we're insensitive. Nobody in Japan can forget what's happening. I guarantee you. There's not one person in Japan that can go through a day here at the moment without thinking about the tragedy. I promise you. It's just around us. We're surrounded by it all the time. So it's not insensitive, it's just getting on with life. And I think if I was just to make every video about the disaster, it's not doing anybody any favours, and if anything, I think it would just be inappropriate, because it would just be taking advantage of a situation. Would give nothing. It would achieve nothing and help nobody, and it would just be... It's not the right way to go, I don't think. So anyway, hopefully this will be the last time I address this for some time. So, those of you who have asked my advice or opinion, that's my advice as far as coming to Japan, where is okay, where is not okay. And as far as all this other stuff about nuclear meltdown and everything else, look, guys, I've read so much of that stuff. I've stopped reading it. Most of the links, people keep sending me links. I've stopped opening them, to be honest with you, because I'm not interested. I've got more than enough information coming through. All this conspiracy theories about Japanese government not telling us. There's enough non-government groups in Japan monitoring what's going on that all those conspiracy. This isn't North Korea. There's freedom of the press here. We've got we've got the same access we got better access to information about what's happening here than the people have in other countries. For some strange reason, people in English-speaking countries always think they know more about what's happening than the people in the countries themselves. Do you know what I mean? So I've got people sending me information from Australia and America, thinking that they know more about what's happening in Japan than we do. Think about this. We've got access to all the same information. I've got access to the same information that you guys do in Australia or America or Europe or England or anywhere else. I've got access to all that information. Plus, every time I turn on the TV, I've got access to all the information from the Japan agencies, government agencies, non-government agencies, academics, private citizens, and everybody else, directly from them in Japanese. So we've got access to both lines of information, whereas the people in the English-speaking countries, all your information's coming from the English-speaking, or most of your information's coming from the English-speaking media and everybody else, who, to be honest, guys, just seem like drama queens from where I'm sitting. But anyway, enough said. Hopefully this will be the last video I'll make on the topic for a while. So anyway, thanks for watching. More videos about other subjects coming soon.